And we are live. So
Yay.
welcome. This
Yay.
is the epic interview with Jess Bennett. So welcome.
Thank you.
And do you want to introduce yourself before we start?
I'm Jess Bennett, and I've been on the Witchy Wisdom channel a couple times, just doing unboxings and readings and stuff. So I think a lot of people already know me, but if not, hi.
Yay. All right. So describe your spiritual path from childhood till now and what drew you to this path.
So I, for as long as I can remember, have been really drawn to the energies of the earth. As a child, I would be outside until they dragged me back in. Are you still there? Because I can't see you.
Yes, I am. Sorry. Okay. When you're talking, I try to give you the screen so everybody can see you.
Okay. So I mean, I would be outside climbing trees. I'd be in the garden with my grandfather. He had a vegetable garden, and my grandmother had a flower garden. So I would always try to be helping out with that, with my hands in the dirt. I loved to be on my neighbor's swing set. I would be on the swing set for hours, just swinging, and you just have this feeling of freedom as you're going through the air, and you can tilt your head back and look at the sky, and just so I realized that I really am in tune with the energies around me, and what I can feed off from. I would climb a tree and just be up there and thinking and breathing in the fresh air. And so I've always known that I've had that kind of connection, but I never really identified it. And watching the other interviews, I kind of realized that I didn't grow up as most of the other people in the circle did. I didn't have any strong religious background. I wasn't raised. I was baptized Methodist. My grandparents were kind of more into the church. My grandmother was she kind of coordinated the thrift shop at the Methodist church and whatnot. But parental wise, it was never really talked about or embraced. We would try to go to church on Christmas Eve, but basically the most I remember from that is being able to go around and see all the Christmas lights. And I still like that to this day.
Yes.
And so, and every once in a while they'd be like, don't forget to say your prayers at night, which was the whole, now I lay me down to sleep. But yeah,
which,
it was,
by the way, is a terrifying thing.
Right.
When you listen to that, it's a terrifying prayer. But yeah, okay.
So then, so after I graduated from high school, I was in college. My parents got divorced. They ended up remarrying other people, and those people were quite religious. And so they both became born again. And when that happened, it was all new and exciting and whatever for them. And they tried very hard to teach me and push me and
yes.
And down to the point where I got very uncomfortable with it, because I was like, okay, yeah, no, that's cool. I'd be willing to learn, whatever. But they're like, oh, it'd be such a bad thing if so unfortunate if you wouldn't be able to join us, once you've died. And I'm like, so the thing is that with me, like, I would love to learn about Buddhism and whatever, but not in that form of like, this is what you're learning, and if you don't believe the same thing, you're going to hell, and it's like, yes. Rather than being like, so this is what we practice, and this is what we believe, and is more, like I said, on like a learning aspect, to be like, wow, that's really cool, tell me more about that. Yeah, not that I'm going to convert or whatever, right? But just as a general, like, I like to know more about people's beliefs so that I can maybe understand them better or their path or whatever, you know.
Which is what most people's education stuff is learn about stuff before you
jump into
feel sucked into that.
Yeah.
Right.
And for, 25, 30 years, I didn't have any religion in my life. So don't think,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm going to jump right on board.
Yeah.
So then fast forward to reconnecting with Jen. We got on the topic. We were talking about like essential oils and stuff. And she was telling me about how, crystals and your path that you were on. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Okay. And I have to say, like, I think I made the comment, I'm like, nothing has ever seemed more right to me than this. So it was kind of like the aha moments that you're talking about, like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yes. That connection happens.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. On, off. I need bifocals, I swear. Okay. Describe your current unique path and what practices you do to help you define that path.
So, I'm still pretty new to everything, and I'm still learning a lot. I actually recently received a care package from someone we both know that contained a book about like the Druid pathway. And I was like, So I read the introduction and I was like, wow, that sounds good. Like, I have that. Yeah, that I do that. So I'm kind of diving into that book a little bit to see if that's something that I can incorporate with, moving forward and stuff. Basically, yeah, I'm just trying to learn all I can and see if that's something I connect with, because there's still so much out there that I don't even know exists. I'm learning about more things daily when people are coming up in chat and talking about this or that. I'm like, oh, what is that? So I'll research it and be like, no.
Not that, but yes, that's and that's why I like this path. I have to, at least what we're doing with this path is because for me it's take what actually resonates with you, what you connect to, and the stuff you don't leave out.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
good. What challenges have you experienced so far on your journey?
I think that mostly for me has been figuring out what I do connect with and things happening and being like, okay, how does that fit in? And, is that important? Should I focus on that? Should I worry about that? Or is that just a, fluke thing?
Right.
And I think that the more I learn and live in the whole path, I'll understand more about what's going on and pick up on things.
Absolutely. And that's absolutely true. And don't feel alone, because that is this, I think, at least from what I have learned in 20 years now, that everybody feels like that in the beginning, because you're kind of like trying everything and what exactly is it? And does this feel right? And by the way, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, this totally resonates. And then you get into it and you're like, oh yeah, no, this wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. That's okay. It absolutely is
the great thing about learning and having other people as resources there, because it might have been something that they've already experienced and they can be like, so this is what happened to me, know.
Yes, absolutely. Describe the deity work you do, if any.
So I haven't really connected with any deities other than Hecate. And Jen and I had this conversation when it happened back in November. One of my dogs passed away, and I was really, really connected with him. And I had a dream, maybe a week or so before he passed away, of a woman in a dark dress coming into, it was almost like a cave kind of atmosphere, but I was laying on the floor on the ground with Hank, and I looked up and I saw her enter, and she just had like this dark dress. And for a split second, I thought it was my mother, but then I had like this motherly feeling. So I was like, well, that's very much not my mother because I don't have that relationship with her. And yeah, I just got kind of like this feeling of peace and her trying to like help me. And yeah. So I Googled goddesses in dark clothing. As anyone would.
Yep, absolutely. Thank goodness for Google.
And then I talked to Jen, and she was like, I think that was probably Hecate, which, as I learned more about her and about my situation and her, connections to dogs and whatnot, that I'm like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. But I kind of haven't had many other experiences with her that I know of, any more connections. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe, is this am I supposed to take the next move? Like, do I need to like get certain crystals or do certain things to like bring her back to me? Or is it gonna, so I'm still learning about all of that. I have always loved candles. I try to have a candle like every day lit. I have a kind of a fascination, obsession with it. Might need an intervention. But recently, probably within the last 3 or 4 years, I started doing like meditation and yoga. And that's when I'm able to do it, I can tell a difference, but I don't always make it a point to do it.
Yes. That's a great point too. And meditation is such an important part of my path. And same thing. I like, boy, do I know it. When I have been slacking and not making the time, I know it.
Yeah.
And then when you remember, when you get back into it and you make it a part of your practice, you start to go, oh yeah, why did I not make time for this again? It's so much better.
Like, that felt so amazing. Why do I not do it more often?
Why do I treat it as a chore instead of?
You need to schedule it into your day. Make it happen.
Yeah. I think it was the Dalai Lama, I think, who said, if you don't have at least 5 minutes to practice meditation, make 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's a problem there. You have to have more than.
Exactly.
Do you have daily practices, weekly practices, monthly practices at all that help you stay on your path?
I just try to stay focused and stay grateful, optimistic, just keep taking deep breaths, because, there's a lot of things that life throws at you that you're going to be okay. You're going to make it through. When you're in that situation, you absolutely think that it's all darkness. And so, I try to check in with myself and with my surroundings. And if I can sense that there is a family or friend that is kind of just spewing negativity, I have had to disconnect myself from them for a little bit, just to be able to breathe and, clear the air. It's not forever, but, sometimes you just need that break.
And good for you for doing that. That's a really hard lesson to learn, that it's okay to do that. So yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite divination method? A favorite, do you do tarot? Do you do any other, or do you even, it's funny, I have to reword these questions, because when you're such a beginner, sometimes you don't even know all the different divination methods there are. But do you have one that you've connected with at all yet?
So funny that you mentioned that, because some of the questions I was like, I need to look up what she's talking about.
That's okay.
But it was good. Okay. It was really good, because I'm like, okay, this is what it helps. Once you kind of have an understanding of the wording, when you're having conversations or when you're overhearing things or discussions, you can have more of a connection to what you're talking about. Whereas if you're kind of like out in midfield about what they're discussing, you can't learn from that because you don't know what the heck they're talking about. And it doesn't connect with you,
Right.
So so when I was looking through it, I want to say like watching candle flames and being at like a campfire or a bonfire and seeing like smoke and just looking into the fire, looking at the smoke and seeing, watching the light flickers and how maybe the air is connecting with that and stuff like that. But there's one that I want to start learning about, I think. And I'm going to completely butcher the word, but it's eponymous. My understanding, it's kind of like reading signals and signs and that come upon you in your life, like, why something is happening or why something is there, and being like, oh, that's a sign of something, of what I need to do or how it's relating to what's going on with my life.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a word that I have heard, but I have not used it, I don't think, in my practice. So that's a cool, interesting thing to start studying. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. By the way, so fire, smoke scrying is kind of where I think you're going with that. So that's good. That's definitely something we can work on. And cool. Candle flames, there's specific things with candles and stuff. We'll get there. There's so much that it's hard for me to, on this end, to like slow down and take it from the foundation levels first. I want to like skip forward, but you gotta get the foundation stuff and then get there. But yeah, we will definitely. I have it on here now. Tarot. Do you do tarot at all, or have you started doing tarot at all?
In my head, the process has been there. I haven't actively done it. I've stuck my feet in it, trying to. It just hasn't been like a pull for me so much, but I do have one tarot deck. It's called Forest of Enchantment, but it's on the booklet it says Your Path Through Enchanted Forest. Mm-hmm. And of course it's woodland animals, so I definitely connect with it. But for a tarot card, whenever I've looked at the deck and looked through the pictures, I'm a very visual person. And so I keep pulling out the Council of Animals, and I don't know where that is with other tarot decks, because I know some decks name things differently or whatever. But so I just want to, can I read like a little bit of
that? Yes, please. Yes.
So so this is the card. It's so hard to do these on video. You get the gist of it.
Yes, absolutely.
So it says, a journey through the forest can have profound meaning or utterly meaningless, depending on what you bring to it. Intentions count as much as actions. Devious successes are far worse than errors made in innocence. The Council of Animals convenes at fateful turning points to evaluate the traveler's progress and rule in judgment for their future. Each council animal has its own unique wisdom, insight, and perspective. Each is authentically itself, and it expects you to be too. Don't ever think that you can fool the council or yourself. It is time for reckoning.
Yes. Oh, that's good.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's good. Is there a number on the book for it or no? Is it 5?
For the card?
Yeah.
It says XX.
Okay. So that is the judgment card, which is that
makes sense.
It's a good. It's kind of the evaluation of where you're at on things.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. And that's hello.
Perfect. I love it. And I will say that is an absolutely great deck, and it is it's definitely one of my favorite ones. It is hard to then, if you're a beginner, it is hard to correlate it back to the tarot, like the Rider-Waite decks, because like almost every card is named something different.
Yeah.
But it will give you the sense of what the card is about. So regardless, it's a really good deck.
Yeah.
Like it. Good. Okay. Are you able to practice openly, or are you in the broom closet with family or work or friends or?
So I feel like I haven't really identified yet of what path I'm on, and to be like, oh, I can clearly say that I'm this, or to introduce myself. So in that sense, it's kind of good because it doesn't get complicated where they're like, oh, well, blah blah blah, blah what questions and da da da, and I'm like,
And that, yep, absolutely, that is totally normal. And I wish that more people would, I don't know how to say this, would take the time to really feel like learn enough that you can identify it. This is what I am.
Right.
Because I think one of the biggest challenges when you're first beginning happens if you make that identification too early and you start telling people this is what I am, because you're going to get questions, and the questions start with stuff that you don't really know yet. Because they're like, well, what does that mean? What do you well, I don't really know. It just
it was cool at the time. Okay.
Yeah, I just liked it a lot, and I like wearing black, or like a lot of people back when I started, it was, that was the aesthetic. The witch aesthetic was like cool. And so people were doing that for a long time. And it takes some getting used to, and you want to at least have the foundational part of it so that if you start getting questions, at least, what direction to.
Exactly. Yeah. And it could change. Like you said, if you say, oh, I identify as this, and then you actually get more knowledge about it and read into it, you're like, I don't identify as that. But now people think that that's what you are because that's what you identified as.
Right, exactly. And as a matter of fact, not just it will change. It will change throughout your lifetime. I think
absolutely
it's a natural progression of things like this felt right for me, and I was practicing in this way. And you know what? Then that kind of fell away, and I found something else that at the time identified a little bit more with me. And so absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you as a person change and your environment changes. So things that might work today for you might not work in the future.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. I will say there's something about the age that we are at that I think, I hate to say it like this, makes it a little easier for us because we are less like, I don't know how to, we have more confidence in ourselves and who we are to say, I am this, or I'm not this. And you're not just kind of following people, when you're young, you kind of have less of that to stand up and say, no, that's not me.
Yeah. You don't care as much if people are like, well, that's dumb. You're like, well, so are you.
Oh, well, who cares? Piss off. Yep, exactly.
It's not for you, it's for me. So piss off.
Yeah. Do you connect with a specific element? And if so, describe how you incorporate that with your practice, if at all. Yeah.
So this one was kind of hard for me because I was like, I feel definitely earth, but I also am like, I kind of connect with all of them, and on some level, obviously some more than others, but yeah, reading into like trying to go into the descriptions of them, I was like, well, yeah, that kind of, but then there's another part of it that doesn't. So yeah, I would say,
well, that's a whole lesson in itself that we'll get to for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Cool. Did you have a particular aha moment with your spirituality, or has it been a gradual process so far?
So looking back into it, I would say behind the scenes, there was definitely a gradual process of it. I just didn't realize it until, fast forward into an adult and look back and be like, oh gosh, yeah. And then that one time, and then that time, yeah, it was
this thing happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, thankfully, like I said, when I reconnected with you, I was like, yeah, there it is. I like that. I've kind of been like searching for, and like had this emptiness of like on my path of like, where am I supposed to be? What am I doing? Where, and searching. And then I was like, yeah, okay, this makes sense.
Yes, that's it. Do you feel drawn to crystals? If yes, any particular ones that you work with regularly?
So this is funny because I was thinking about it, and I've always loved, stones and rocks, and I've collected them and brought them home, and they were probably all just, clumps of dirt. But at the time, as a kid, you're like, "This is a really cool rock."
Is awesome. Yeah.
But there was, I think one of the questions was having a stalker card in tarot, and I'm like, if I had a stalker crystal, it would be amethyst. It always seems to come up. I'm not a purple person, but this just keeps coming up. In the lives or whatever, if there's like a giveaway or whatever, they're like, yeah, she got amethyst. I'm like, crap.
Again. Yes.
But so for some reason, amethyst seems to connect with me, not always the other way around. But I feel like visually what I've been drawn to is definitely jaspers. My first crystal was an ocean jasper. And then for probably months after, watching lives, I'd be like, oh, that's a pretty stone. Which one is that? Ocean jasper. Of course it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. And I will tell you, with your stalker crystal, that's hilarious. That's a great way to put it. And I don't think I connected that before, but usually when you have that stalker crystal, it's because whatever that does, that's something you desperately need to work on. So there's a lot of, or one that you are particularly turned off by. That's another signal usually that there's something it's trying to hit for you that you're like, oh, no.
I know. You're like, I reject you. Stop
it. I will not feel that. Yes.
Return to sender.
Yes, exactly. Now, I know that you're new, so you may not at all have a favorite Sabbath, but if you do, you can say, or a favorite, do you have a favorite season?
Yes. So I've always been an autumn person. I enjoy the seasons. I try to explain to people that, I enjoy the changing, having 4 distinct seasons. I could never be like, someone living in like Florida that is 90% of the year, 60s, 70s, 90s, 100s, whatever. Yeah. And so I definitely identify with enjoying the seasons. I want to say Sabbath-wise, probably in the area of like Lunasa and Mabon. It's weird. The way that I've always enjoyed that time. Obviously, it's a kind of a beginning and entering into the fall time. But I identified with going back to school. It's a weird thing to identify with, but like, okay, fresh start. Let's clean slate, begin again. Yeah. And you would think that would be a connection to spring, Right. But for me, it's always been like the air just smells different. There's a different feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. And it is, in a way, it's a fresh start. It's the clearing out of everything to get to that point. So I can see where you feel it then. Yeah. Absolutely.
Beginning a new year of like learning and
evaluating what has been. Yeah, I could totally see that. If you could see 5 and 10 years into the future of the circle, what role do you see yourself in if you could step into any role you were interested in?
I've always been good with, I was actually on board going to college to be a teacher. I was going to do speaking and hearing impaired, even though I know minimal sign language to this day. So I started out being a teacher, wanting to be a teacher. So I have that in me, and just helping people, maybe learning how to identify their path and not be like overwhelmed by it. Just take it piece by piece and figure out, what it means to you. And I have to say to Mikey, I'm gunning for your job. No, I do. I enjoy like the weird, organizing and paperwork and stuff like that. So I always have to joke at him that.
Awesome. Like, there has to be those people in the world, and I'm glad you're around.
Right.
I so wish I was sometimes, but yeah. Okay, so staying in this 5 and 10 year future jump, what would you like to see the circle doing for itself and the community at large by then?
I think definitely helping the community understand that it should be so much more acceptable. Like, I don't view us as being a threat or, trying to harm anyone, as I feel like people, I feel like we're portrayed in Hollywood or whatnot. Like, there's this stigma of, like, being like the wicked witch and,
Yep.
casting spells on you and,
Yep.
the whole thing. And I want it to be more understood that, at least from my point of view of having that connection to nature and whatever, that we're really just trying to get back to basics and
Yes.
live as one and flow and, like you were saying before in another interview, the whole Pocahontas thing, but like really, like, just not treading on anybody else's turf and just being and trying to make the best of every day and whatnot. So I feel like, there was that video that Hexen had posted talking about the video of the pastor, and I can't remember his name, but of there being witches in his church and, whatever.
Calling them out.
Yeah. And it was just like, it just punch guts you, like that people are still. And like one of the people had commented, like, it goes back to Salem witch trials. Like,
Yeah.
really? Are we taking that many steps back, to that? Can't we all just get along,
I know. I can't even, especially having seen it grown, having been in this path now for as long as I have been. When I started, it was before social media stuff. So, Hex and I talk a lot about when we started, it was a very different thing because it was way not accepted.
Right.
And sometimes you kind of forget, like, that, yes, that stigma is still out there because it's so much more accepted, at least. But there's still, unless people know someone, they still look at you like, there has to be something wrong. There has to be something. There's something shady. There's whatever.
Right.
And I think it depends on the part of the country you live in a lot too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But it also, I feel like sometimes it goes down to that whole, things that people don't understand. There's a fear there, and they clearly don't understand our path. So they are trying to rid it or whatever, smoke it out. And they're going to try and make everybody fear it and make it this demon, that they need to perish. But it's sad.
Name one thing that you are currently interested in learning about in your circle.
Everything.
Everything.
I know. I was like, okay, that totally sounds like I did not understand the assignment.
I understand, because especially when you start, that's usually the feeling is, I want to learn everything.
Yeah. And I am so appreciative of the circle and the resources, because everybody's got a different path going on and everyone's at a different point of that path. So everybody has, I guess even me, has something to offer of what they might have already gone through or what maybe not to go through. Right. Feel like, dude, I had this experience. I don't think you want to walk down that road.
That really was cool. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, for sure. And like I said, I think especially when you're first starting off, it's kind of that sponge effect that you feel like, I just want to suck every inch of information out of everything. Yes. Name one thing that you're interested in teaching or mentoring others about in our circle. And remember that you do not have to be an expert in any subject to teach and grow with others.
I would really like to be more in tune. And this is even a personal thing for me that I've been longing for a long time. And I've dipped my toes in it and tried to do what I can. But just the whole preservation and sustainability. And unfortunately, humans have gotten us to this point and we have effed up, because I don't know if I can say the other word.
Royally. You can say it. Fucked up. I say
it. The world and the environment, and it's pissed off, and it's coming back at us. So now, at this point forward, we need to learn how to, keep what we have sacred and move forward and not make it worse. See if we can kind of, before it explodes on us, see if we can, live comfortably in it.
David. Would you share tips for beginners that you have learned on your journey that you wish someone had shared with you?
I think it's really important to find your people and just surround yourself with, even if it's different personalities and different beliefs and different likenesses, like someone that's going to be understanding and support your journey, respect your journey, and someone that's not going to be like, well, that's dumb, because we're all learning, any religion, any culture, we're all still learning every day, or hopefully learning every day. And there's going to be mistakes and there's going to be errors, but that's all part of the process, so it's okay to go down a path and be like, oh no, turn around, or to go down a path and be like, guys, oh my God, this was awesome.
This is so cool.
Yeah. And to just share that and feel like you can share that, feel comfortable sharing that, because we're all here to learn from each other, no matter if you've been doing it for 20 years or if you've been doing it for 2 days,
For sure. Absolutely. I love that. Anything else that we didn't cover that you'd like to say?
I love you guys.
And I will say, just for future people who watch this and stuff, I always feel like I have to, not that we have to, but that Jess and I knew each other a long, long time ago. And I was on this path, but I was not at a point where I don't think I hit it,
really
but I don't think I really talked about it or anything.
No.
We worked together in X-ray a long, long time ago. So it's always funny to see how the universe kind of plucks people out and puts people back into your life, and be open to it, because you never know what'll come back around. And
absolutely. It's been great.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jess. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
And we're going to end now. Bye, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.